The willow trees wept long green tears into the slow-moving River Elmsbrook, their branches trailing like weary fingers in the water. Beneath their ancient shade sat Elara, a girl whose quiet presence seemed woven from the river mist itself. Her home, a small cottage perched on the bank, felt too big and too empty since the whispers about her parents' journey across distant oceans had faded into silence months ago. She often came to this spot, watching the water carry away fallen leaves and lost feathers, feeling the vast quiet of the world settle around her shoulders like a heavy, invisible shawl. The river became her confidant, its gentle murmur the only answer to the questions she whispered into the breeze. One damp afternoon, a forgotten scrap of sky-blue paper, crisp and inviting, fluttered onto the muddy bank near her feet. Almost without thought, Elara picked it up. Her fingers, remembering a long-ago lesson, began to fold crease by careful crease. She formed a tiny boat, its pointed prow eager for adventure. She held it in her palm, feeling its delicate weight, a fragile vessel against the wide water. Then, kneeling on the cool earth, she gently placed the little blue boat upon the river's skin. It bobbed bravely, caught the current, and began its journey downstream. As it floated away, a strange lightness fluttered in Elara's chest. Her heart felt less heavy watching that small, determined shape navigate the unknown. The next day, Elara returned with more paper. Whispers of lavender, sunshine yellow, soft moss green, saved from old drawings or found tucked away sitting beneath the willow. She folded fleet after miniature fleet into each boat. She tucked a secret message, written in her careful, looping script. Who finds this? I am Elara. Does the river sing where you are? What makes your heart feel light? She poured her loneliness, her quiet hopes, her simple questions onto the whisper-thin paper. One by one, she launched her colorful armada, watching them sail around the bend, carrying fragments of her spirit towards unseen shores and unknown hands. The ritual became her solace, her silent conversation with the world beyond. Her loneliness days turned into weeks. Elara's fleet sailed daily, but the river brought nothing back except the sigh of the wind and the reflections of passing clouds. She began to wonder if her paper messengers sank, were torn apart by rocks, or simply dissolved into the water, carrying her words into oblivion. A familiar ache of isolation started to creep back in, colder than before. Had she been foolish, whispering her heart to an indifferent current? She almost stopped folding, the bright papers feeling suddenly pointless in her hands, mere toys for the relentless, uncaring flow. Then, one crisp morning tinged with frost, something extraordinary happened as Elara launched a small crimson boat. A flash of iridescent blue swooped low over the water. A kingfisher, usually shy and swift, landed surprisingly close on a weathered branch. It tilted its head, fixing a bright, curious eye on her. Clutched in its slender beak was a crumpled piece of paper, unmistakably one of hers. A pale green boat, now water-stained and carefully smoothed. Her breath caught with infinite care. The bird dropped the paper onto the bank near her feet, gave a sharp chirp, and vanished like a sapphire arrow. Trembling, Elara picked up the paper below her original question. What makes your heart feel light? New words were written in a different hand. Finding your boat, it made me smile. Old Finn. The miller. The kingfisher became a regular, dazzling messenger. Sometimes it was a sparrow, sometimes a busy wren, but always they came, bearing replies written on her own boats or on scraps carefully attached. Words arrived from Old Finn the miller, grateful for the reminder of childhood joy. A note came from Lila, the baker's daughter, hidden away caring for a sick mother, thanking Elara for the unexpected spark of friendship floating downriver. Even the reclusive woodcarver, Thomas, sent a tiny, perfectly carved bird figurine tied with twine to a returned yellow boat, inscribed with a simple thank you for the color. Elara's heart, once a closed bud, began to unfurl. She wasn't shouting into a void, Her tiny ships were finding harbors, weaving invisible threads of kindness along the river's path one evening. As fireflies began their lantern dance above the darkening water, Elara sat surrounded by her papers, folding a new fleet under the rising moon. But she wasn't alone. Down the path came old Finn, carrying a warm loaf of rye bread. Lila followed, her face bright, holding a small jar of honey. Thomas walked beside them, a shy smile on his face. Without a word, they settled on the grassy bank beside her. They watched her fold. Then, hesitantly at first, they began to fold their own boats. Finn's were sturdy, Lila's delicate, Thomas's precise. Together, in the quiet companionship of shared purpose, they launched a great flotilla of hope onto the moon-silvered river. Elara looked at their faces, illuminated by the soft light, feeling a warmth deeper than any summer sun. Her little paper messages hadn't just reached others. They had built a bridge, bringing kindness back to her own shore. The river flowed on, no longer a symbol of separation, but a shimmering ribbon connecting lonely hearts, carrying their shared whispers of light out into the waiting world, one brave little boat at a time.